Welcome to Career and Corporate Hub. Zina Nifikodani Hlatshwayo. Today's interview is in the field of property studies. I am sitting with Nomazwi. Nomazwi, welcome to Career and Corporate Hub.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yes, it is nice to have you. I think your career is it's not so common.
Yeah.
So I've been looking forward to interview you because we don't have a lot of black people that are in the field that have studied property studies. So please tell me, where did you start and which primary did you attend in high school?
Alright, so basically I am from rural KZN.
Okay.
I grew up in, the nearest town is Potchefstroom. I grew up in a village called Delima. So I grew up there my whole life. I've been in KZN. I was in KZN.
So the primary?
I went to pre-primary. I went to a local primary school in the village, pre-primary school in the village, and then I guess this is back in the days
like
when
you guys had pre-primary. Something is like the preschool.
Like pre-primary from grade 1 to grade 3, and then primary is from grade 4 to So basically, when I was in grade 1, I started off in a neighboring school next to my village, and then this was back in the days when there was still segregation and stuff like that. And then, so when things opened up, my mother wanted me to go to a Model C school. My parents wanted me to go into a Model C school. So when things opened up and we were allowed to go to those schools, I moved to pre-primary. They made me repeat grade 1.
Okay. It was because of English, because I'm assuming.
And I was also young age because I did grade 1 when I was 5. And then when I went to my primary school, it was Hlanganani Primary School. They changed me. They said I was too young, basically, and because I was 5, and then they said I must repeat when I was 6. So I did grade 1 twice.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in Hlanganani Primary School, and then I went to Potchefstroom Senior Primary from grade 4 to grade 7, and then from grade 8 to matric, I went to Potchefstroom High School.
Okay. And how was it like from primary to? Okay, so primary and high school, you were in the same school.
It's pretty much the same school, but it's a feeding school because they separated, so the properties are on different areas, well, in the same town, but not in the same school, basically. What I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So it was a great experience because from grade 4 to grade 7, I was in boarding school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in boarding school.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I made a lot of friends. I met a lot of different people from all over because. When you're in boarding school, generally the kids that stay in boarding school are from far. So most people.
And were you also coming from far, or it was not far from?
No, it's a 30 minutes drive to my village.
But you stayed at school?
Yeah, I still stayed in boarding school until grade 8.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess that prepared you when you had to move to Cape Town to study property studies, which we will touch on a bit later. So when you were in high school, did you always know that you wanted to do property studies?
No.
Okay. What was your first choice?
My first choice was become accounting.
Okay.
Like most people.
Okay.
I think that was the most popular degree because when I was in high school, I did.
You majored in accounting.
Yeah, I did accounting. So I did accounting, economics, biology, and maths. All those of that. Yeah. So I wanted to be a CA like most people. So I did become accounting when I went to university.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I failed accounts too. So instead of repeating, I opted to change degrees to property studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you applied for the university, did you apply for a bursary? Were you studying with the bursary when you did accounting?
So I had NAFSA, so it was a combination. So back in the days, I'm not sure how NAFSA runs now, but depending on your parents' income, they would subsidize a portion, and then your parents would pay a portion.
Oh, okay.
And then when I converted to property studies, that was still the case until I got a bursary.
Oh, and you said you failed accounting too.
Yeah.
Was that like your second year or first year?
Second year.
Okay, so first year you did well, and then second year that's when.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
And today, as a property evaluator, do you regret making that decision, quitting accounting and doing property studies?
No, it was actually one of the best decisions I think I made in my life.
Yeah.
That point when I made that decision, I did do a lot of research because I was fortunate enough to be in a tutorial class with someone that was doing property studies.
Okay.
So, and that's how I got introduced to the course, and I was interested even before I made up my mind about changing, because I made up my mind about changing the degree only at the end of the year when I failed accounts too. So when I met one of the guys in my class, in my economics class, who was doing property studies, I was like, oh, that's an interesting degree, because he explained what they do.
So you guys were sharing some of the modules?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like a combination between a commerce and an engineering.
I see.
But it's like it sits under the EBE division within the facility in engineering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when you change courses, what do they say at home?
So that was a not so difficult conversation actually. My mom is very supportive.
Okay.
So at that point, my dad was late because my dad passed away like 12 months before, like when I was at the end of my first year.
Okay,
so I think, and then when I had the conversation with my mom, I had already done research, so I told her, this is why I want to change, this is what I want to do, this is how, and she was very supportive. A lot of people though were very critical about my decision.
Yeah, I mean, what is property studies?
Yeah.
I mean, like that was in
2007 when I decided to make a change.
And a lot of black people didn't know like anything about property.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and for basically, what is property studies? Yeah.
Okay, so basically, property studies involves like, I guess, within the property field. So you have 4 different majors or 4 different ventures where you can venture into. Like, I'm a property valuer. One can do property finance. Others can do construction management or property management.
So you basically just learn about properties as a whole.
Yeah, and then you make a decision, I guess, where you feel you want to go into which space.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's also like also get to be defined by the company that you go to work for. Because I'm thinking like when you're done, you have to look for a job, and I mean in South Africa it's not so easy to get a job. So if you get a job in finance and then you become a property financial, I don't know what it's called, but what you just described, that it's like broken down into 4. So how were the studies in university? Like how was it like studying property? Yeah,
it was very interesting. It's a very interesting course, and it's got its challenges, and but it was very interesting and it was fun.
Was it harder than accounting?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Even though you do share some courses like statistics, you do the same stats as people that did Becom accounting, same law subjects, say like company law, business law. You share a lot of economics, like I meant in my economics class. Yeah, and then you choose your own electives. So with properties, there's electives. So I would advise anyone doing that degree to choose electives that will focus more in the area that you want to go into. So if you know you want to go into property finance, then I would in choosing like economics 2 courses, or that will give you more insight into economics and more what is done in finance and stuff like that. And if you want to do, I know, like I did
evaluation basically.
Yeah, I did valuation, but that was one of it's a major within the properties. So I did
so you get to choose the direction as you are studying.
No, property valuation is you have to do it until your 4th year. So and there's property finance, you have to do it until your 4th year. But what you have an option is choosing your electives. But if you already know which area you want to work in, then you direct your elective to those areas.
So, I mean, looking at it now as to where we are, and more black people are buying properties, and like now we've got better education on the value that a property holds. I think that's actually a good cause to study. So when you were studying, with a lot of black people in the class?
No, basically, and it was a small class. There was about between 90 and 100 of us in the class. And of that, less than 20 were of color, not just black. Indian, blacks, coloreds, and Asians.
And you get to see that when you're buying a property, it's hard to find black real estate. Yes, they were coming now and there, but there still isn't a lot.
So it's very predominantly white field. Even within valuations, if you need a value and you're looking in the market, majority of the companies or even individuals that are valuers are mostly white.
And gender, how is
mostly male. So even in the class it was mostly male, white.
So ladies, we need more ladies.
Yes, we do. Please join us. Please join us. It is a very interesting field, but it is predominantly white. But I think things are slowly changing, and I think what you're doing is actually one of the reasons I came, because to inform people that there are other degrees other than the common ones that we find out.
We don't want to name them, but
there's other ones. There's options. There's options.
Between theory. So we'll go. So now that you're working as a property evaluator, how is it different from what you've studied? So usually what you've studied when you go to the industry is like different. So as a property evaluator, like how is it?
Okay, so it is different, because mostly in varsity what you do is theory. But we did have an opportunity to do practicals as part of the project within the different courses that we were doing. So, but that was groups. So now when you're a property valuer and you're doing it, you have to do it obviously on your own. And there's a lot of different properties that you have to value. In varsity, only had an opportunity to do one, but now I'm mostly valuing commercial properties.
So when we talk about evaluating property, are we talking about buildings, or like what is referred to as a property?
So basically what I do, because there's different valuers, so you can do different properties when you're doing a valuation. So there's residential valuations where you value people's homes, and then there is commercial valuation where I do commercial, I don't do residential in my job. I value office buildings, shopping centers, industrial buildings, and I guess block of flats. So if someone is buying a block of flats,
okay, that's considered as commercial.
And student accommodation. Yeah.
Okay. And when we talk about evaluating, can you please simplify it?
So basically, what I do. So currently, I'm working for a bank.
Okay.
So what I do is that if someone is looking for funding to fund the property, they would come to a bank and say, okay, this is my property, I need a loan. And the credit analysts will look at how they're gonna fund. But where I come in is where I go and say, okay, this property is worth X. And how I go about doing that, obviously, if how much will this property, if it were to we were to sell it today, how much would we sell it for? And what you look at is there so how you get to that, you will see. I'll make a simple example. I think the simplest example to make is with an industrial property, which is, say, a large retailer needs to store their
Southgate, for an example. Or is that too
No, that's a shopping center. Okay. So that's more complicated. So I wanted to use like I don't know, a Pick and Pay or Checkers or whatever. They have warehouses where they store their goods and products. So they will store them in an industrial property. And they will pay rent to the landlord or the owner of the property. So then, and they would sign a lease agreement. And generally, a big client like that would sign a 10-year lease agreement with a landlord because they want to secure the building and make sure that they have that agreement with the. So I would look at that information. How much are they paying? What are the costs to run this property? And then I would give it, I guess, a rating or a cap rate, and then I would get to a value. So that's basically in the simplest way. So you will check the quality of your tenant.
That's the quality of your tenants. Are you like? I don't understand.
So, for example, like the big retailers that I've mentioned, they are very big and they have good reputations. So it's unlikely for them to not pay their rent. But but if you like also on the street that is working as a mechanic who doesn't have a brand and he needs a space to rent, he is more risky than a blue chip tenant.
I see.
So that means that when you are calculating, when you're doing the math, those are the things that you look at, those nuances. How long they're not likely to sign a 10-year lease. So, and a 10-year lease means that there's secure income for a 10-year period. They're likely to sign a 12-month lease or 3-year lease. So there is also risk to income if you're just looking at that.
So, how is your job like? Like, you work in the office, I guess you also have to go and
to siting space. So what I didn't mention, I think that's a good point, is that when you do a valuation, you have to inspect your property, you have to measure it. And so what I do on a daily basis, because I work for a bank, most of my work is to, I guess, do valuations and check other valuations that the bank outsources. So when at the equity check, just to see if I'm happy with how they've done it and the assumptions that the external valuer would have done. That's most of my work. I also do my own valuations where I will especially when the deal is still new and the deal makers want to assess value. So I would do that. We also do site inspections. We go out to site to check the properties, the quality of the assets, to see if the asset is actually there.
Oh, because you can sign off something and only to find out that
so you have to see
nothing.
Yes, there's nothing there.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. And what do you enjoy most? Do you enjoy like being in the office or going to the site? Yeah.
I actually want a bit of both. I enjoy a balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because I enjoy doing a full valuation myself, going out to site, doing inspection, doing. Fortunately, when you do the kind of assets that I value, most of the time I don't need to measure because they sign off that it's like you caveat against that and you say, okay, we didn't measure, but the client will assure you that they've measured, these are their measurements. So, but mostly when I go out of site, I'm checking the quality of the assets, the tenant mix in shopping centers to see am I happy with the tenant mix and the quality of the tenants.
So you mentioned tenants, and then also there's also when you buy. So when you evaluating, do you evaluate for rentals or you also evaluate for people that are buying like a commercial building?
So because I work for a bank, when I work for a property management company, they would also request us to check the market rentals if there's a vacant building and they're trying to market that space. They'd ask us, are these market rentals market related before they go out to market? But generally they do have, the property managers and agents really already have that information. And we also source that information from them. So it's like everybody feeds into everyone. But as a property valuer, you're mostly valuing a property to assess what it would sell for, or what company should keep it in its books for.
Okay. Maybe outside of this, just for my knowledge, if I want to buy a house and when you're buying a house, obviously when you're checking online, there's a price on the house.
Yeah.
Can I call a property evaluator to evaluate if that price is worth what the seller is selling it for?
So there are some people that do that. You can
for free or
no, it's not for free. But a bank would also generally do a valuation on your on the property. Everyone that is buying. If you're getting a mortgage from a bank, the bank will send out someone to do a valuation before they approve your loan.
Okay, I see. Just a cut. Swoop, is the lighting still good?
Yes.
Still good?
Yes.
Okay.
And from a commercial aspect, if you are getting a mortgage bond or wanting to purchase a commercial building, the bank would also send out a valuer to do an assessment before, just for security's sake. Yeah.
So what would you advise for somebody that would like to study property studies?
High school students, I'd advise them to make sure they do maths, because you can't get in without doing maths.
So that's a prerequisite.
To check out the maths is the important one, and I think they should obviously go into the different universities and check. I know UCT still offers and VITS offers property studies. I'm not sure which other universities, but those two for sure, they offer property studies. I know some of them, UNISA closed down their division.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which other universities still, and I know UJ used to offer it. I'm not sure if they still offer it because I also heard.
And do you perhaps know why they removed it from their
UNISA,
list?
I think it because like you're saying, not a lot of people
are doing it
do
or
know about it and were doing it, so
Yeah.
it didn't make sense, I think, at UNISA to still run the program.
So it was not benefiting the fact
Yeah, I would
institute,
say, yeah, I think that's the only
institution.
reason why they would shut down a course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But I know for sure that is definitely a prerequisite.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
that's literacy, guys.
So you must do what they call it pure maths.
Yeah. So back in my days, I did maths higher grade. So I don't know. Yeah.
And you didn't study with I'm a 2000.
Yeah. So and when you're studying, I mean, just be aware of the 4 areas where you can go into as a property student, and start thinking about those things. So one of the things that I did, I was fortunate because I had a bursary. I would do work, VAC work. So I
was it true? Okay, because you had a bursary, so it was in varsity.
Yeah, so as in varsity, I had an opportunity to do VAC work, and the first company I worked for is the biggest real estate company or listed real estate company in South Africa. So I was fortunate to have an opportunity to work there, and they the biggest property owners listed on the JSE. So they have property management, property valuations. They've got construction division, and they've got a finance division. So I was fortunate to be able to go work for a company like that, where I had opportunities to move around and then choose where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So
if you're still in high school, you basically don't know. I'm sure they don't even know which company exists, which is also important that you research which companies are like they specialize in real estate. And
I can mention a few if you.
Yeah, you can.
So I worked for Growth Point. So that's there's also Redefine. Those are the top, I think, the biggest 2 companies on the JSEs.
So those ones have bursaries. So when you're looking for a bursary, you must look for, check on, I'm sure Google can.
No, SAPOA is actually, because I got my bursary through SAPOA. So SAPOA is, it's like all the property, it's like, okay, you have to cut this point. It's SAPOA. What do they do? They are like, So SAPOA is like an institution where all the property stakeholders, they give them like guidelines in terms of what's happening in the property division. Basically, they are. So my bursary was with SAPOA, and they give out a couple of bursaries for people in the property space. So Grow Point used to fund or put money into the SAPOA bursary scheme. And then the people that put in money into that scheme, they choose from the graduates that they want. So I was fortunate that I was chosen by Grow Point.
Okay, so I'll put a link of SAPOA so that when you want to apply for a bursary, if you are in matric and want to pursue your studies in property studies, then you can also apply for a bursary under SAPOA.
Even in construction, they also, if in the property space, they offer bursaries.
Okay. And how are your mornings like? I'm just thinking, you like retail, I mean, you go to the sites or you go to the office or you work from home?
So they vary from day to day and what is expected of me on that day. So if I'm mostly checking values, I'm in the office the whole day because I need to be in front of the computer and looking at the valuations as they come in and assessing them if we're happy, if it's done to the bank standard. If we are off to site, it depends, because I've been to Botswana, I've been to Namibia.
So it's not only South Africa.
Yes.
Okay.
So sometimes I need to be at the airport at 4:30 in the morning to catch a flight. And then sometimes it's for a couple of days. So it depends on where the site visit is. Limpopo, I've been fortunate to.
So you go everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, basically,
you love traveling.
Yes, you love traveling.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of traveling as a normal, I think a value would do. That is mostly out on site every day, and does valuation on a full-time basis. But I do get the opportunity to travel quite a bit. I would say my split is 20, 30, 70% of the office, 30% traveling.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that I'm not restricted to just doing valuations within South Africa. So I get to go to, I've been to Namibia, Botswana so far, but around South Africa, Limpopo, Cape Town, Durban. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to go to Europe, but we do get to see properties or assets. But there we would be just reviewing valuations from the Europeans, I guess the people that are buying or investing
in Europe.
Then we would just assess if it's done to the standards that the bank would be fine to finance.
That sounds exciting. I mean, for somebody that loves traveling.
So it is. It's very exciting. And it's very interesting. Every property is different. I think that's what they tell us when we start, that every property is different, but every property is different. The nuances are so different. You could be on the same street, but have total different nuances that affect value.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the economy now, is it the right time to buy property? What do you think?
I think it's always the right time to buy the right kind of property. Currently, rural retail is the talk of the town now. So rural retail is obviously in rural areas or township retail. That is, I think, the talk of the town. A lot of people are liking that asset because of its resilience. It's got if it's got a good tenant mix, which are core tenants that supply products that are used whether in a good or a bad day. So through COVID, those most properties suffered because they couldn't trade, but those were still trading fully because they supply essential goods. So they don't, I think, really get affected as much as other kind of centers, the big shopping centers where only say a percentage or 40% of the centers is trading. Where in the rural retail, 100% is trading.
That's actually a good advice, because when you try to buy plots in the rural areas, they're now expensive.
Yes.
But they were so cheap like back then, and and also rurals are developing. Like there's a lot of shopping complexes that are coming up.
Yes. So that's why. And good industrial property. Industrial, if you look anywhere, any publication, industrials are doing extremely well as well. But it's mostly industrials. I'd advise anyone to buy, if you are looking to buy an industrial property, buy one with a long lease, nice long lease, because you secure your income. You know that you have income for the next 10 years if there's a 10-year lease.
And I mean, you can always renew it.
It's not that easy, so that's what I'm saying. But you can renew it, but if there's a 10-year lease that has no breaks, if you might take 2 or 5 months or 6 months to find a new tenant if your tenant doesn't renew. So you don't want those gaps. So you want to sign as long a very long lease.
And so you're currently working for a bank. Would you one day start your own company, or you have a company running and just run independently, or
so
remain in corporate?
Yes, that's a very good question. I would love to eventually do my own thing. You'll see there's a lot of in the market, a lot of values that work for themselves. You find that it's a lot of them are over the age of 55. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's an aging career, so that's why I'm really encouraging people to really join property studies and do valuations, because even in like from the percentage of the people that I graduated with in varsity, I think in my class there's only 3 or less than 5 of us that are doing valuations. So it's an aging career. There's a lot of older guys that are dominating the industry. And it's something you can do forever for the rest of your life, because people are still doing it in their 70s. They're still working. But if you're working for yourself, most of those guys, they work for themselves, so they can choose which work to take and how much they can take, depending on their lifestyle. And so at some point, yes, I do want to do my own thing, hopefully. I'm not sure if I'll wait until 55 like most people, but yeah, I do want to do it. It's just a matter of time, because when you incorporate, you can't do your own.
So you can't evaluate privately?
I can't.
So it's like a
ethical breach. Yeah.
So Nomazwi, is there a question that you think I could have asked you? And if there is, how would you have answered it?
Okay. I'm not. Maybe I missed it. So, but I think a question. What kind of person do you have to be I think a good valuer?
Yes, that's actually a good one. Yeah.
And I think you need to be inquisitive.
Okay.
You need to be inquisitive and always willing to learn, because most of what we do is based on other people's companies and what they do and how they use properties. So on a day-to-day basis, when you're doing a valuation, it's important to understand the tenant. Why are they there? How long do you think they would stay there? How do you think their business is something that's going to last? So you need to be inquisitive. So when I go to site, I like to engage with the tenants and ask them a lot of questions about their businesses and stuff like that. So, for example, one of the properties that I valued was a business, and they are manufacturing. It's an industrial property, and everyone was concerned because, like I was saying, a long lease is very important. There was only a couple of months left on the lease. When I was like, the tenant is not going anywhere. The manufacturing, they've got their equipment here that costs millions. To move it costs millions. Like when they moved into that property, they had to break down the roof, put their equipment, and then redo the roof.
Oh my God!
So the chances of them
taking it out would require the same process.
So the likelihood of that tenant moving out is very slim. So those are the things that you need to understand when you're doing your assumptions and your valuations. So you always need to be inquisitive. Always ask 1,000 questions. No question is stupid, and because that's how you learn about the business and how it can affect your value.
Yeah, and I'm sure, asking questions should start from high school when you're applying. Like, I want to study property studies. What is property studies? Where am I going to use this qualification? True. I do agree.
And even when I was decided to change my degree, and I not engaged with the guy in my class and asked him questions and asked him to. So
you didn't just quit accounting blindly and go study property studies. You had information.
Always be informed. Always ask questions, as many questions as possible. Be inquisitive. be inquisitive.
Are there any projects that you're running with to uplift your community or just anywhere?
I wish. I actually would love to do something like this. I've been saying I want to start something.
Good platform.
Yeah.
Your interview is going to help someone, trust me.
I would love to do something like that, especially from the community that I come from. I think they would benefit from something like this.
Yes, and I'm sure also to mentor like kids that are still in high school or just anyone who would like to pursue the career in property studies.
I'm always, unfortunately I don't have anything that I'm doing, but I'm always willing and open to help people. I've been approached on LinkedIn, someone has sent me messages asking me. I'm always willing to help. I'm always willing to sit down,
can you
need a conversation, ask questions, let me know.
I'll put your LinkedIn link, like your profile LinkedIn in the description box.
Please check it. I'll check it. But yeah, so I'm always willing. I've had friends ask me to talk to, or colleagues that ask me to talk to their kids.
Because it's a different career. I mean, we know now everyone wants to be a real estate.
Yeah, in real estate.
But what is property evaluation?
No, so I've had lots of colleagues ask me, please talk to my child, please tell them about the degree, tell them about varsity. I'm always open to doing that.
I mean, we can talk for days because I'm also learning. I didn't know about the property studies field, so thank you so much for coming. I learned a lot, and I'm sure somebody that is watching is going to take something, not only people that would like to pursue the career in property studies, but also the information in property, because property is an asset. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Bye bye.
Bye.